Have you ever wondered if your thoughts and actions are truly your own, particularly when using social media? In the digital age, social media platforms have woven themselves into the very fabric of our everyday lives. They're our news sources, our communication channels, our entertainment hubs, and often our personal sounding boards. Yet, as we scroll, like, share, and comment, do we ever reflect on whether our choices and decisions are truly autonomous? Personal autonomy, the capacity to make an informed, uncoerced decision, is a crucial pillar of self-respect and mental well-being. It's the freedom to be yourself, voice your own opinions, and make choices that align with your interests, values, and beliefs, not just those that echo the sentiments of the masses. In the realm of social media, maintaining this autonomy can be a tricky balancing act. So here's the million-dollar question. How can we be sure we're not just following the crowd? In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a series of experiments that revealed a lot about human behavior and conformity. These became known as the Asch Conformity Experiments, and their findings continue to resonate with us today. Let's dive into these iconic studies and see what they can teach us about the power of group pressure. The setup of Asch's experiment was deceptively simple. Participants were presented with a line and then shown 3 additional lines of varying lengths. They were asked to identify which of the 3 lines matched the original line in length. However, there was a twist. Among the group of participants, only one was a genuine subject, while the rest were Confederates who had been instructed to give incorrect answers. You might think that the real participant would stick to their guns, trusting their own judgment. Surprisingly, this was not always the case. When the Confederates unanimously chose the wrong line, around 3/4 of the real participants conformed at least once and publicly agreed with the group, despite knowing that the answer was incorrect. This was a startling revelation about the power of social pressure and the human tendency to conform. What Asch's experiments revealed was that the desire to fit in can be so strong it can make us override our own senses. We can be swayed by the majority, even when we know they are wrong. It was a demonstration of how we as social creatures are wired to seek acceptance and avoid conflict or exclusion. However, it's important to remember that not everyone conformed. 1/4 of participants consistently gave the correct answer regardless of the group's opinion. This highlights that while conformity is a strong force, individual autonomy can resist it. Asch's experiments showed us the power of conformity. But how does this translate to our use of social media? Every day, millions of people use social media, and they are faced with a barrage of opinions, trends, and social norms. Imagine you're scrolling through your feed and you encounter a post that's garnered a lot of attention. The comments are flowing, the likes are piling, and the general consensus seems to lean towards one direction. You may not entirely agree with it, but you find yourself swayed by the overwhelming majority. This, my friends, is the Asch Conformity Experiment playing out in real time. The Asch Conformity Experiments, for those who aren't familiar, were a series of psychological trials conducted in the 1950s by Solomon Asch. The experiments revealed that individuals tend to agree with the majority, even when they believe the majority is wrong, simply to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing. Now, replace the participants of Asch's experiment with social media users, and you've got a modern-day conformity study happening every second of every day on a global scale. This herd mentality is not just an interesting psychological phenomenon. It's a tool, a powerful one, that social media platforms can and do use to manipulate and influence public opinion. By strategically highlighting certain posts, comments, or trends, these platforms can subtly nudge users towards a particular viewpoint or behavior. And the scary part is, most of us don't even realize it's happening. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of this. Our opinions, our beliefs, our behaviors, all potentially molded by the invisible hand of social media. The very essence of our individuality, our autonomy, is under constant threat. But it's not all doom and gloom. Recognizing the influence is the first step towards resisting it. We can and should question the popular opinion, scrutinize the trending posts, and challenge the prevailing norms. It's not about being contrary for the sake of it, but about preserving our distinct voices in a world that's increasingly pushing us towards a monotonous chorus. So in this world of constant social pressure, how can we maintain our autonomy? Stay tuned as we delve into this in the next segment. Retaining your autonomy while using social media is not just about resisting conformity. It's about preserving your mental health and well-being. Here we are in the age of information where data is as abundant as the air we breathe. Social media platforms are the new town squares, and just like the public spaces of old, they can be sites of influence, persuasion, and, yes, conformity. But how do we navigate these digital landscapes without losing ourselves in the process? The first strategy is critical thinking. We must learn to discern fact from fiction and not to accept everything we see or read at face value. We must question, analyze, and evaluate. Is this post based on credible sources? Does it align with my values and beliefs? Does it challenge me in a constructive way, or is it merely echoing my existing views? Critical thinking is our compass in the sea of information, guiding us towards truth and away from manipulation. The second strategy is conscious consumption of content. We must be mindful of what we consume and the effect it has on us. Just as we wouldn't fill our bodies with junk food, we shouldn't fill our minds with junk content. We must choose quality over quantity and nourishment over instant gratification. Remember, what we consume consumes us. The third strategy is taking regular breaks from social media. Just as our bodies need rest after physical exertion, our minds need rest from the constant barrage of information. Regular digital detoxes can help us regain perspective, recenter ourselves, and re-establish our autonomy. Autonomy is vital for our self-respect and mental health. It is the ability to think for ourselves, to make our own decisions, and to live in accordance with our values. It is the foundation of our identity and the cornerstone of our well-being. Without it, we are mere puppets, swayed by the whims of others and stripped of our dignity. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, be yourself. Retain your autonomy, resist the push to conform, and embrace your individuality. And never, ever give up critical thinking for the sake of being accepted.
Matrix of well-being. Live the life you create.